let's chat about like some of your thoughts about like activating some of that data, like turning unstructured data about voice of customer into actual action, like closing that loop, if you will. I know AI is perfect use case for making sense and figuring out ways of automating unstructured data that we get from some of these conversations at events, or some of them are recording, right? Things like auto tagging themes and extracting customer quotes from call transcripts. A lot of people love using Gong for sales calls,
Mm.
and you can like push those insights into Slack. Certain team members are updating persona docs that you have. Maybe they live inside GPT, or updating onboarding flows also, or customer emails, feeding that into the data science models that you have for propensity models, and processing all of that data. What other ideas come to mind? Like, how can we automate the component of, all right, we have a use case that we picked, we have a bunch of data points that are unstructured. How do we put that into action? What are your thoughts there?
So I think you have to. So here is the interesting thing. And we probably should talk about it because I'm looking a lot into AI and how do I use AI agents as an example to automate the voice of customer, right? And it's not just in marketing, but I would say across all the business functions because everyone is getting customer feedback. I think it starts with, so you have to think about like what's the function that we're trying to automate. Is it capturing and tagging, routing, tracking, summarization, and activation, right? So it's like you have to. I think about if I were to think of what would be a stack, right? That you have to build, and what would be the function of it. So it's like, and there are multiple tools that you do that, but I think of it as in terms of, well, a gong call reveals a trend. Multiple buyers from manufacturing, as an example, are asking, how do you compare to this competitor on AI, using AI for manufacturing efficiency. So, the a voice, and this is where I'm thinking of technology and agents, right? Like a voice of agent can pick it up via call transcript, and then you extract. The extract. Well, okay, what's the intent? Are they evaluating, or are they just answering? Looking for awareness. What's the segment, right? Industry is manufacturing. What's the topic? And again, the tagging thing, that's where you're talking about, right? But what are those tags or the metadata, so to speak, right? Topics, intent, segment. And then, you post it in Slack and then say, well, 3 recent calls flagged manufacturing buyers asking about competitor versus our differentiation. We recommend reviewing current messaging, right? As just as an example, and then that gets assigned to a product marketing manager and a campaign owner, right? And then it suggests maybe a messaging tweak and a one-pager update based on what it is, and then you track the action in a dashboard, right? Like heard, routed, resolved, and measured. So I mean, I think that that's where, you and I know all these steps require, okay, what are those tools that you use, and then how it really gets integrated into that workflow. But this is a workflow that we can easily automate, Phil. Doesn't have to be manual anymore. The tech probably today can automate 70-80% of the process. And of course, with humans in the loop for judgment and prioritization. But I think that this is, in fact, one of the uh, maybe underutilized use cases, for companies to really see how we unlock the value of VOC through automation, because it's not just marketing. It's everywhere. Product gets a lot of, customer data points. Operations like GTM gets a lot of data points. HR gets a lot of data points as well. Internal as well as external. Finance gets a lot of data points around stakeholders, investors, all that. So how can, this is that ideal, I would say, scenario where there are these silos existing, and then how can you use this technology or automation to unlock value? So it's for me is a very exciting use case for us to automate and get some true value without
Yeah.
spending a lot of money.
Can you think of like one example, the first example that comes to mind to walk us through like one of these automations, maybe something you've built in real life, or let's say your account team was having a conversation with a deal that was lost and that's recorded on Gong, and there's a lot of keywords and certain objections that came out of the reasons why certain person decided not to purchase, and you're automating those keywords, like those insights or the voice of customer, and it's
Oh,
going to Slack, and that's being sent to the team that's building like personas.
oh,
And so they're tweaking the persona here because of the data that's coming out of that. Like something
right.
more about like getting endpoints about the voice of
Mhm.
customer
Yeah.
and then like throwing that into certain places. I don't know, like one of the ones that like comes to mind. They're friends of the show, the company called User Evidence. I don't know if you heard of them. They're a startup and they're basically like, I think they call it like a customer evidence, but essentially, this the category of tool that like helps with the voice of customer for testimonials specifically. Like there's a lot of data in existing customers that have a testimonial to share, and so user evidence, like they basically built a product that lets teams capture product feedback through
Mm.
surveys and like review sites on G2 and stuff like that. And then they automatically surface the best quotes from your existing customers and testimonials. And it turns that into like on brand marketing assets that are ready to be
Oh,
used on like social channels. You can put them on the website, they can be pushed to like other tools in your stack. Are there like other use cases
oh,
like that or
okay.
tools that come to
Got
mind?
Oh, yeah, got it. We actually, you have been using Bright Edge, and their Bright Edge is the SEO platform. Their AI tool, which basically is helping us automate content briefings, which was earlier very much manual process where you get all these, you have to get into the platform and look at the keywords, the specific, L1, L2, L3 keywords, and then, use, okay, now how do we, what type of content we should be creating. So, but what we have now, and we're using a lot of this and being able to churn out a lot more content on our website is really looking Bright Edge, looking at what the market is suggesting, the keywords, the insights that you're seeing, their intent topics, what are strategies, what is the consumption happening on our website, as an example. And then really using this as a way for them to churn out some content briefings around specific, topics and categories. So that's something that we're using at this time, and then we put it in our workflow from a content QA standpoint, which we are working to say how can we integrate that briefing into our our Microsoft Copilot for us to even come up with an article which can then just be pushed into our CMS. That's something which is work in progress, but that's something which we are using a lot, which is combining what our web data is, combining what Bright Edge is seeing from their research, and then using that to recommend content and content briefings from there. The other one which we have done and used is Sixth Sense predictive model. So we implemented Sixth Sense a few years ago, and we really we built this predictive model where we could see where accounts are in what buying stage, and more importantly, where are the accounts within our ICP who we were not even aware. This whole thing about the dark funnel, because that was a problem. Is we were just you were limited to going after an X number of accounts, and the data was suggesting, well, what about these additional accounts, because they are your lookalikes, right? And within your ICP, and then you just push them, into if you determine that those are the ones, you then just push it into Salesforce for them to get created as accounts into in Eloqua, and then you can simultaneously push them into like an advertising campaign, because you have all this great insights from their model. So we have been using we use that. We have now moved away and we built an internal predictive engine model, which we are again using the same way. But Sixth Sense actually has a very good use case, which we implemented, and we got a lot of increase in efficiencies. But then also a lot in terms of the opportunities that we were missing out from an activation standpoint.